Hello and welcome back. I'm Shelf Unit and this is my Let's Play of Civilization 2. Technically multiplayer gold, but since we're not on a multiplayer, that bit isn't that important. Okay, we started off last time with London. We are the English. And I founded a settler, or built a settler, and went and founded York because they had these two resources nearby. This resource is here, and we've just discovered silk, which gives 1 food, 2 shields, but 3 trade. So the food and the shields are the same as the terrain underneath it, the forest, but the trade, which is very important for getting your sciences and your luxuries up, has been boosted from 0 to 3. Okay, so just quickly show you what's in our cities. You can go up to advisors and city status, and that will tell you what you're building in each. So here in York we're building settlers, and in London we are building the pyramids. Personally, I like to choose the pyramids because it means I don't need to build a granary in every city. A granary reduces the amount of food you need, I believe, to increase your city size. I shall just look at city improvements in the Civilopedia. So only half the city's food store is depleted when the city increases in size. Okay, otherwise the whole bar is emptied. So with this, it's a 60 shield production requirement. But when you've got it, it enables your city to increase in size a lot quicker. Twice as quickly, in fact, because you've still got half of the food remaining when you increase in size. And it costs 1 per turn. So by building the pyramids, which count as a granary in every city, you're saving per city 60. And since the pyramids don't cost anything to maintain, you're saving a cost of 1 as well. Up until John Smith's something or other, which eliminates the maintenance cost of anything that costs 1 or below. Well, anything that costs 1. That's really handy. So I'll just read the description of this. Early humans were nomadic, settling in specific regions only for brief periods of time. When the food supply was exhausted in one area, the nomads would move on to search for more. Cities became possible only when the development of agriculture made the supply of food more abundant and dependable. However, cities still needed a way to keep the food supply stable throughout for all 4 seasons. To do so, the citizens had to come up with a way to store seasonal crops for later use. The granary was designed for storage and protection of surplus food. Food storage technology meant that a smaller percentage of the population could produce and store enough food for everyone, allowing the remainder to pursue other jobs and activities. Right, but in this case we are going to go around the edges of our current land. And, we seem to be on a spur of land here. Oh, no, we're on an island. Yep, it's an island. Okay, so we've built that. I'm going to build a temple and city walls now, and send the settlers off. I may disband these guys. Oh, there's fish here as well. So I'll probably want to put a city up here and another one down here. So I put one here and one there. I should be able to get benefits of all of these things. Right, whilst I'm going down though, I will discovered monarchy. Okay, so let's read the description. Ruled by monarchy, developed as a logical extension of the absolute rule of tribal chieftains. Many of the earliest monarchs, such as those in ancient Egypt, claimed that they ruled by divine right. In the spread of European monarchy during the Middle Ages, however, ruleship was generally conveyed upon a leader who could most effectively raise and command an army. Monarchies are dynastic, with the rule of the country passing to the eldest son when the king dies or retires. Monarchs had absolute rule over their subjects, severely limiting the personal and economic freedom of all citizens except for the nobility and the rich upper class. Although monarchies ruled most of Europe for centuries, the unhappiness of lower-class citizens eventually grew intolerable, causing several major revolutions. By the mid-18th century, the power of the European monarchs had been severely limited, paving the way, for participatory systems of government. So, what do we want to learn now? I'd like mysticism. Or writing. Mysticism. Let's go mysticism. So, we've acquired knowledge of monarchy, which allows you to improve your government. So I'm going to begin the revolution. The English are revolting. Indeed they are. Citizens demand new government. So I shall just quickly go to the civilization things and go to government, Civilopedia. So the minute we're in anarchy, we started off as a despot. In a despotism, the ruler has absolute control over his or her subjects, and this control is usually enforced by the military. This system has a tendency to minimize individual freedom and reduce the efficiency of production efforts. So every unit above the city size costs 1 shield per turn. So if I have 2 units, such York right now has the settler and the protecting phalanx unit, so the settler will cost 1 shield until York goes back up to 2, where it will cease to cost 1 shield. Settlers, however, only 1 food per turn. Up to 3 military units in each city institute martial law. Each of these units makes 1 unhappy citizen content. So for every unit I have in there up to 3, I get 1 less unhappy person, which is very useful in higher difficulty levels. Despotism has a high rate of corruption and waste, which the further a city is from your capital, the higher its level of corruption. Under despotism, tax, luxury, science cannot be higher than 60%. Any terrain that ordinarily produces 3 or more of any resource, food, shields, or trade, produces 1 less. So the trade that I would get, which would be 3 from the silk, goes down to 2. And because of despotism's high rate of corruption, it's almost always an inferior form of government. Try to switch to a monarchy as soon as possible. Now, the difference between despotism and monarchy. Monarchy is ruled by a single person known as a monarch. The monarch's rule is less absolute than that of a despot, and he or she usually has the acceptance of at least the upper class. The aristocrats under this system of government have some economic freedom, allowing the civilization to be more productive. So each unit beyond the 3rd costs 1 shield per turn. So that means that this settler would no longer cost anything, because it would be the 2nd unit from York. Settlers still eat 1 food per turn, so immediately you've got a bonus here. Up to 3 military units can institute martial law, exactly the same as despotism. That's good. Has a moderate rate of corruption and waste. Again, the further a city is from your capital, the higher its level of corruption, so that's an improvement on despotism. Under monarchy, tax, luxury, science rates cannot be set higher than 70%, so I can now have a little bit more freedom of that. And monarchy is a young, excellent form of government for a young civilization. So we're going to transform into a monarchy. Unfortunately, at the minute we are in anarchy, technically. Anarchy represents not so much a government type as the lack of any stable government. Anarchy occurs when your civilization's government falls, or when you decide to have a revolution. After a few turns of anarchy, you can rebuild a new government. Anarchy is similar to despotism, except that the corruption rate is very high. However, no taxes are collected during a period of anarchy, and no scientific research is conducted. There is a wonder, I believe it is the Statue of Liberty. I'll double check that. Eliminates the period of unrest, so there's no anarchy, and allows any amount of government to be chosen. I shall just quickly go to the pyramids as well, because that's what we're building. Counts as a granary in every one of your cities, and it only costs 200. So by the time, if you have 4 cities, you're better off getting the pyramids than you are building a granary in each city in terms of cost. Also, since it doesn't expire, it lasts forever, so you never need to build a granary, and it doesn't cost anything in upkeep, and because of that, you're saving in those 4 cities, if you were to have them, or however many cities, at least 1 per turn. So for 4 cities, you're saving 4 gold per turn. I personally like to go for all the wonders of the world which have 0 expiry date, because they, well, last forever. So I'm going to build a road here. and I'm just going, there we go, monarchy, income of 2, cost of 0, discoveries 10 turns, income of 1 to 8 turns. Yeah, I'll do that. Decrease the amount of cash you have, but by 50%, but increase your discovery turns by 20%. It's not a huge thing, but it's as best as I can do. And the more advances you have, the better you'll be. Yay, yes. Okay, and I'm just going to go up here, uncover that, and then I'm going to disband my unit. I'm going to send him down and him in there. I'm going to build a road with him. Now, if you disband a unit inside a city, half of that unit's the resources, production shields that it cost to build that unit get added to whatever you're currently building. Since we've explored everywhere, and I've got nothing really else to do with this guy, he's a bit useless. I'm going to disband him in the city, and you'll see when I do, this will increase, and the amount of time taken for my pyramids to be built will decrease. I'm building at 5 a turn at the minute. So 1, 2, silly mouse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it goes beyond here, I've saved a turn. Oops. I have not saved a turn, but it's 4 less units. So 4 less production. So if I choose to build or to buy rather than carry on building, it will now reduce the cost more. Okay, so now we're going to have this guy go past. And as you can see on the city status, I have road here. I'm going to switch from there to there, because from here, which is also a shield on grassland or plains, I get 2 food and 1 shield. Here I'm getting 2 food, 1 shield and a trade, which is going to increase my science. So now you see I've doubled the science production in this city from where it was here and here. There I had 1 shield, 1 trade and 1 shield. Now I'm putting it over here. I'm getting 3 shield, 2 science and 1 tax. I don't think I was getting a tax before, was I? No, I wasn't getting any tax. So by just manually adjusting on screen, I have increased both my shield, doubled my science production, and infinitely increased my tax production in the city. And I will go up here and see if, yep, this can also be changed, but I'm going to change it onto here, which gives me 1 food, 2 shields and 3 trade, which gives me an extra more cash and more science by a lot. So it gives me 1 extra coin and 2 shield, 2 science production, although 1 less food, because obviously it's in a forest and I'm silk hunting rather than food gathering. So, discovered mysticism now. People of the ancient world were fascinated and awed by the forces of nature surrounding them. Earthquakes, storms and other phenomena were generally regarded as signs from heaven. Individuals and groups arose to formulate explanations for these events and pass the knowledge along to the tribe. The priests and priestesses of mysticism, often called oracles, claimed union with the divine through meditation and trance-like contemplation. Primitive mysticism offered mankind the first tenuous links with the powers that shaped their world, and represented the first move to organized polytheistic and monotheistic religions to come. So now I want to move on to writing. There is an advance. I'll type it in here. My goal is philosophy. Lots of advances, as you can see. Then we should research writing. Philosophy gives you 1 free advance. The first civilization that gets it gets 1 free advance instantly without having to research it. And I want to get there first. So I am doing writing. I'll move into currency soon, because that will provide me with a marketplace to increase my taxes. But the writing, as it is, will give me access to the library, which will massively increase the science production. So we shall carry on with that. Don't want to consult the council because there's no point. And I don't have the video. And I will move him down. Building a road now as I go. And instantly we've discovered the writing because of the increase in the science production in those two cities from moving around. So we gained the possibility of a library, and we can build a new unit, the diplomat. So the development of writing is considered one of the most important advances of civilization. The earliest forms of writing were simple symbols and marks, used to keep accounts and inventories. Some cultures developed pictographic symbols to tell stories and record events. Eventually, complete systems of writing were developed, capable of conveying any thought that could be expressed orally. At this point, scribes replaced the oral historian. As the chief keepers of records, writing allowed the presentation of information in a form that could be reliably transmitted from person to person, and made it possible for ideas, history, and knowledge to be stored permanently, and passed between cultures more reliably than through oral recitation. So, then we want to head straight to literacy. And that will provide us should be, I think, we don't know if we need the warrior code or not, but if not, literacy will definitely put us through to philosophy. And I'll close, I'll go back here, and yet again they've chosen, I suppose, what do we want, 2 food and a trade, or... Huh, okay, well, I'll take that. Yeah. Yeah, because, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gaining more trade because we've built on cities. Should really build a road over here to get more trade, but don't have enough people yet. And now we're up to 6 per turn. So now I'm going to irrigate here. It's going to take a long time. It's 1 turn. I'm clicking enter to turn, and you'll see the dates go down here. Another turn, 3rd turn, and as you can see, we're nearly up to the city. Yep, we discovered literacy. The technology. We discovered literacy, and this allows building of the Great Library. The Great Library is a great thing to have for 2 reasons. Well, it's semi-situational, but what it does is every time, I'll read the description. Civilization receives any civilization advance already discovered by 2 other civilizations. Expires with electricity. So basically you get that for two reasons. One, you're behind in your technology, and all the other civilizations are racing ahead of you, which means you get 3 advances. Or B, you don't want them to have it because you're already ahead. Honestly, I don't use it that much, especially not on easy level. And if you have to use it to get your technologies, you're already in trouble. So, discovering literacy has opened up philosophy. So I want philosophy right now, and then I want the Republic. I think I'm going to go straight into the Republic once we've discovered philosophy, and that will be a better form of government. The monarchy. So York is working hard there, and going to finish building the city next turn. And hopefully we'll finish irrigating here soon. York's built city walls. It's got 2 citizens, so I want to now change back to building settlers because we've got a high production rate. That's going to be good, although when we do lose that extra citizen, we're going to dump right back down because we're going to lose one of these 2. With a bit of luck, food storage should be, meaning that we will not be using or losing that citizen for too long. Okay, and I'm going to be building a city probably here. Yay, we've built the pyramids. So we've built the pyramids now, which means we have granary in every city. I want to change that. Honestly, I just want to get a temple in here. No, I'll go for a 2nd phalanx because it takes less time than a temple. Get a 2nd phalanx, and then I'll build a cellar. Okay. Lots of turns to irrigate. There, we've gained an extra person in London. And we've gained our second phalanx. Now I just want to build the temple to make sure. Let's get, yeah, that's okay there. Yeah. We don't have roads on these, so building on the road will switch a resource out for a trade, and I don't really want to do that. I want more resources to build more things. So I'm going to fortify him in there, and we've discovered philosophy. The term philosophy comes from a Greek term meaning love of wisdom. In ancient Greece, literacy and an interest in the natural world were common in a burgeoning upper class. In their leisure time, these people contemplated principles of thinking and being, logic and mathematics, and the natures of reality and existence. In ancient times, the study of philosophy was indistinguishable from the study of science, and many of the theories formulated by the early philosophers became the basis for studies in the fields of astronomy, medicine, chemistry, and physics. The teachings and writings of the ancient philosophers of Greece and the Orient also, in part, lay the groundwork for many of the world's oldest organised religions. The golden age of philosophy begins in the English city of London. Great English thinkers articulate scientific, moral, and metaphysical systems which endure for centuries to come. So this advance will be completely instant and free. I'm going to go Republic because I want to change to a Republic system of government. Republic. English wise men discover the secret of the Republic. So, Republic is a system of government in which the citizens appoint by popular vote a head of state and officials to represent the views of the general public. The concept of the Republic first appeared in ancient Rome, where the local provinces sent elected representatives to the Senate, which governed all Roman lands. Both the head of state and the local representatives in a republic are elected. No one is granted a position by birth or divine right. Republican governments are similar in some ways to democracies in that they offer a great deal of personal, financial and political freedom to the citizens. The main difference between the two systems is that a true democracy allows the participation of every voting citizen in any and all political matters, whereas in a republic the views and opinions of the people are represented by a body of elected officials. Although an effective system, personal agendas of political representatives might act to decrease the effectiveness in representing the views of the people. Due to human nature, corruption is fairly common in a republican government. Isn't that the truth? So, next up we want to get, I'm thinking, currency for marketplaces. I'm going to say no right now, but I will look up the differences between monarchy and a republic in here. So, a republic is an assembly of autonomous city-states under the control of a central government. Although the central government has the ultimate say in matters that affect the society as a whole, the city-states are given a certain amount of latitude in the governing of local affairs. Decisions are made by the ruler, but are subject to a review by a group of officials known as the Senate. Each unit costs 1 shield per turn, so that's including ones in a city. And settlers eat 2 food per turn. Each unit beyond the first that is not in a friendly city, or in a fortress within 3 squares of a friendly city, causes 1 citizen in its home city to become unhappy. Republics experience a low rate of corruption and waste, even though it said it's fairly common. The further a city is from your capital, the higher its level of corruption. Under Republic, we can set tax, luxury and science at 80 as opposed to 70. Our Senate may force a peaceful solution in discussions in a conflict. Switching to Republic can give an astounding boost to your science and luxury revenues, although you'll probably be forced to shift some trade to luxuries in order to prevent unhappiness. Republics make it difficult to keep and expensive to keep an sizable army in the field, and building certain improvements and wonders can help alleviate this problem. I want to switch to a Republic, but right now I think I'm going to keep it as it is until we have a couple more cities. Wow. So York has built settlers. We've lost this, but what we have got is a new one coming up soon. So I'm going to change, and I'm going to build a temple there, just because I want to make sure that unhappy people are not unhappy for long. Okay. So I'm going to go here. Well, we are now the most advanced civilization in the world. There's a lot of others though. I'm going to build a road here. But because we have 2 settlers, we're not growing anymore. So hopefully we'll be able to siphon off one of these settlers into a city very soon. And there we are. So I'm going to build a road here. Just built a temple in London. Now I want to build city walls because I don't like leaving my cities semi-undefended. I'm going to build a road here. We discovered currency, and that allows us to build a marketplace. As cities grew, their internal economies became more complicated. People became specialists, and some primarily producing grain, some pottery, some bricks, etc. A system of barter developed so that one individual's wares and services could be exchanged for those of another. Excuse me. Gold and silver were widely used in such transactions, but the pieces needed to be weighed and tested for purity each time they changed hands. In the year 600 BC, the Lydians found a way around this problem. They began the practice of shaping electrum, an alloy of gold and silver, into pieces of predetermined weight and purity, stamped with an official symbol. This idea caught on, and within 50 years, all important trading centres of the world had adopted similar practices. The widespread use of currency created universal standards of value, allowing people from various societies to conduct business conduct business almost anywhere without being forced to bring along bulky goods for trade and barter. Awesome. So, what to do now? Construction, I think, because that will allow us to build a few other things. Okay, now what am I doing? London's got a huge population now, so I want to build some roads around London. And I want to build a city right here. It's got the fish, which will allow quick expansion and good trade. And I've got a few of these city trades, and not city trades, what am I talking about? Shields on grassland, which will allow for good production to come in. And we'll start off again by building a phalanx. Ooh, and now the people have spontaneously decided to recognize your many years of enlightened leadership. Craftsmen, masons, laborers, and artisans turn out to build a fine addition to your throne room, which is currently a cave. So let's get them. This has no effect on the game virtually whatsoever. So I'm going to get a nice floor. Yay me! Okay. So, I've built a road there, which appears up here. And I want to build roads here and here and here. Because that will allow me, once my cities start expanding in people, to get more trade in those areas. So let's move down here. Oh, York's built a temple. Good news. And now I want a second phalanx in there to defend. I always like to have 2 defensive units in a city just in case one has a bad combat round. And then I'll build probably more settlers. Or maybe even a library, because I've got a lot of science being produced here, and libraries are good for building up your science. So now that there's a city, a road here, I will switch from this area to this one, which will have the same benefits as this, plus 1 trade. And soon I'll be growing again, and so I will be moving on further there. Go down here and across to here and build a road here. Second person in there, and I'm going to build a library now. Just show you what a library does. No, not there, not there. City improvements, library. Increases science output by 50%. The development of writing meant that the accumulated knowledge of society could be written down and stored rather than memorized, and was passed along by word of mouth. The accumulated written material was stored in a library. The libraries of the ancient world, especially those of Alexandria and Pergamum, became leading centers of science and scholarship. Librarians actively collected the books of the world, accelerating the spread of knowledge. So with the 7th player there, I'm going to move from here to here, gain that extra trade. I'm going to finish the city walls next turn. I'll probably build a library in here as well. But I think I have... Oh, we discovered construction, which allows an aqueduct and a coliseum. A coliseum keeps unhappy people happy, and an aqueduct allows your city to expand. In the normal pre-aqueduct maximum is 8 civilians in one city. You build an aqueduct and that allows you to expand your city to 12, which will cover most of the squares. Later on you have a sewer system which allows an infinite number of, or potentially infinite number of citizens in a city. So construction. The development of masonry led to a widespread use of stone in simple structures and fortification. Simple structures such as fortifications. But due to the weight and cumbersome nature of stone blocks, more complex structures had to be made of simpler materials. The need for the widespread use of more durable and permanent materials eventually became apparent, forcing ancient artisans to learn new techniques. The biggest problem to overcome was finding a stable way to span the distance between two upright columns or walls using stone blocks. To solve this problem, fundamental architectural elements such as the arch and vault evolved. These basic construction techniques allowed larger and more elaborate buildings to be created from stone and mortar. Many of the buildings erected by these early builders are still standing, a testament to the sound construction techniques employed by their construction. So settlers can now build fortresses, which was mentioned in the Republic, and we can get a new thing. I want to go mathematics, because maths is always a good basis to have for any civilization, and London has built the city walls. And we can now build a library in London, I feel. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to build a road there. And then I'm going to build a road here. We've discovered mathematics already. This is incredibly fast. So now with mathematics we can build a catapult. And rudimentary arithmetic was purely quantitative, used to keep track of quantities and measurements in trade. Building on this fundamental base, ancient civilizations began to formulate more complex mathematical concepts. As early as 1800 BC, the Egyptians had developed a system for working with fractional numbers and simple algebraic problems. They also formulated geometric formulae for finding area and volume. Came up with a constant for determining the area of a circle that was very close to the value of pi. By about the 5th century BC, the mathematicians of Greece had greatly contributed to both geometry and algebra. Around the same time, advanced mathematics was applied to other sciences and fields of study such as astronomy and mechanics. One of the earliest applications of mathematical principles was in the construction of complex weaponry, such as the catapult. But we've done it in 2260 BC, so we're 460 years ahead of the Egyptians. Raw! So this allows astronomy and the university. Now, university provides an upgrade for the library to a university, or an addition, rather, I should say, which increases science by a further 50%. I'm not 100% certain whether that's overall science or original science. So, but astronomy allows the construction of a very good wonder. But I want something called King Richard's Crusade, which is engineering. So horseback riding is what I want. Engineering, it allows the building of a wonder called King Richard's Crusade, and that doubles the shield production in a city, which can be huge. If you can get it first, it allows you to build anything super quickly. It's amazing. It's like having a factory basically in the BC times. So we're going to go horseback riding for that. And Nottingham now has a phalanx unit. Okay, so I'm going to stop here now. This is our tiny little corner of the world. Goodness, it's grown quickly because of the fish. So I'm going to save here. I'm going to say goodbye. If you enjoyed, please subscribe. It's, as I said in the description, this is a slow game. And it looks like it's going to be extremely slow given that half an hour we've only done what we've done so far. But we have advanced a long way and we've got ourselves an extra city. And we are now building roads to increase the trade. and thus speed up the advancements of our technologies even more. I'm probably going to build another city somewhere up here. 1, 2, 1, 2. So probably where this forest is here. That will enable me to build more settlers, as I don't want to use too much in the way of food up and prevent my cities from growing. Once we have completely colonized this island, I might switch to a republic, but we shall see. There's land here that I want to think about exploring, and I'm going to put a city down here. Hopefully that will enable us to discover what's down here and move to here fairly quickly. No, I don't think there's another land up there, but we'll find out eventually. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe. If not, do not worry about it. I shall see you again later. Next time, rather. Goodbye.